Amos chapter 1, or Amos chapter 1. The word Amos who was among the shepherds from Tekoa. He perceived these words concerning Israel during the days of Uzziah, king of Judah, and during the days of Jeroboam, son of Joash, king of Israel, 2 years before the earthquake. He said, Adonai roars from Zion, from Jerusalem he gives his voice. The shepherd's pastures mourn, and the top of Mount Carmel withers. Thus says Adonai, for 3 crimes of Damascus, even for 4 I will not relent. For they threshed Gilead with iron, threshing sledges. I will send fire into Hazael's palace. It will devour Ben-Hadad's citadels. I'll break the Damascus gate bar and cut off the inhabitant from the valley of Aven. Wielding Beth Eden's scepter, so the people of Aram will go into exile to Kir. Adonai has said it. Thus says Adonai, for 3 crimes of Gaza, even for 4 I will not relent. For they exiled an entire population, giving them over to Edom. So I will send fire on the wall of Gaza. It will devour its citadels. It will cut off Ashdod's inhabitant, wielding Ashkelon's scepter. I will turn my hand against Ekron, and the rest of the Philistines will perish. My Lord Adonai has said it. Thus says Adonai, for 3 crimes of Tyre, even for 4. I will not relent, for they gave an entire population over to Edom and did not remember the covenant of brothers. I will send fire on the wall of Tyre, it will devour its citadels. Thus says Adonai, for 3 crimes of Edom, even for 4 I will not relent, for he pursued his brother with the sword, and stifled his compassion, for his anger tore continually, and he kept his wrath forever. So I will send fire into Teman, it will devour Bozrah's citadels. Thus says Adonai, for 3 crimes of the sons of Ammon, even for 4 I will not relent, for they ripped open pregnant women of Gilead to expand their territory. I will kindle fire on Rabbah's wall, and it will devour its citadels. Amid shouting on a day of battle, with storm on a day of whirlwind, their king will go into exile, he and his princes together. Thus Adonai has said. Amos chapter 2. Thus says Adonai, for 3 crimes of Moab, even for 4, I will not relent, for he burned the bones of Edom's king to lime. So I will send fire upon Moab, so it will devour Kiriath's citadels. Moab will die in an uproar with the shout of alarm and the sound of the shofar. I will cut off the ruler from her midst and slay her princes with him. Thus Adonai has said. As for Judah and Israel, thus says Adonai, for the 3 crimes of Judah, even for 4 I will not relent. For they despise Adonai's Torah and have not kept his statutes. Their lies have misled him, those whose fathers walked after them. So I will send fire upon Judah, it will devour Jerusalem's citadels. Thus says Adonai. For 3 crimes of Israel, even for 4 I will not relent. For they sell the righteous for silver, and the needy for a pair of shoes. They trample the head of the poor into the dust of the earth, and thwart the way of the humble. A man and his father go to the same girl to profane my holy name. Upon garments taken in pledge, they stretch out beside every altar, and drink wine confiscated as fines in the house of their gods. I destroyed the Amorite before them, whose height was like cedars, as strong as oaks. Yes, I destroyed his fruit from above, and his roots from beneath. It was I also who brought you up from the land of Egypt and led you 40 years in the wilderness to possess the Amorites' land. I raised up prophets from your sons and Nazarites from your young men. Is this not so, B'nai Israel, declares Adonai? But you gave the Nazarites wine to drink, and you commanded the prophets, saying, do not prophesy. Behold, I will cause a tottering beneath you as a cart totters when full of sheaves. Then flight will fail for the swift, the mighty will not strengthen his power. The warrior will not save his life, the archer will not stand, the fleet-footed will not escape, the horseman will not save himself, the valiant among the warriors will flee naked in that day, declares Adonai. Amos chapter 3, the prophet reveals destruction. Hear this word that Adonai has spoken against you, B'nai Israel, against the whole family that I brought up from the land of Egypt, saying, only you have I known from among the families of the earth. Therefore I will punish you for all your iniquities. Can 2 walk together unless they meet by appointment? Does a lion roar in the forest when he has no prey? Does a young lion growl from his den unless he has taken prey? Does a bird fall into a trap on the ground if he has no bait? Will a snare spring up from the ground without taking anything? If a shofar alarm sounds in the city, will people not tremble? If there is calamity in a city, has not Adonai caused it? For the Lord Adonai will do nothing unless he has revealed his counsel to his servants, the prophets. A lion has roared, who will not fear? The Lord Adonai has spoken, who shall not prophesy? Proclaim on the citadels of Ashdod and the citadels in the land of Egypt. Assemble on Samaria's mountains. Behold the great tumult within it, even the oppression within it. They do not know how to be honest, declares Adonai, those who are saving up violence and destruction in their citadels. Therefore thus says Adonai, my Lord Adonai, An adversary will surround the land. He will bring down your strength. Your citadels will be plundered, thus says Adonai. Just as the shepherd snatches out of the mouth of the lion 2 legs or a piece of an ear, so will Bnei Israel dwelling in Samaria escape with the corner of a bed or head of a couch. Hear and testify against the house of Jacob. It is a declaration of my Lord Adonai Elohim. For in a day I shall punish Israel for the transgressions of Israel, and attend to the altars of Bethel. The horns of the altar will be cut off and fall to the ground. I will also strike the winter house together with the summer house. The houses of ivory will perish, and great houses will be demolished, and is the declaration of Adonai. Amos chapter 4, word for worldly women. Hear this word, you cows of Bashan, who run Samaria's hill, who oppress the poor, who crush the needy, who say to their masters, bring so we may drink. My Lord Adonai has sworn by his holiness. Behold, days are coming upon you when he will drag you away with meat hooks, the last of you with fish hooks. You will go out through breaches, each woman straight ahead, and you will be cast to Harmon. It is a declaration of Adonai. Come to Bethel and transgress. In Gilgal multiply transgression. Every morning bring your sacrifices and your tithes every 3 days. Offer up hametz as a thank offering. Call out about free will offerings. Boast about it. For so you love to do, Bnei Israel. It is a declaration of my Lord Adonai. Yet you have not returned. So also I myself have given you cleanness of teeth in all your cities and lack of bread in all your places. Yet you have not returned to me, declares Adonai. Also I myself have withheld you from the rain. When 3 months remained to the harvest, I caused it to rain in one city, while in another city I sent no rain. One piece of ground would get rain, while the portion not rained on would wither. Or so 2 or 3 cities go staggering to one city to drink water, but would not be satisfied. Yet you have not returned to me, declares Adonai. I struck you with blight and mildew. Your many gardens and vineyards, your fig trees and olive trees, the locust has devoured. Yet you have not returned to me, declares Adonai. I sent among you a plague, in the manner of Egypt. I slew your young men by the sword with your chariot horse in captivity. I made the stench of your cap rise up even to your own nostrils. Yet you have not returned to me, declares Adonai. I overthrew some of you as God overthrew Sodom and Gomorrah. You became like a firebrand snatched from a blaze. Yet you have not returned to me, declares Adonai. Prepare to meet your God. Therefore here is what I will do to you, Israel, because I will do this to you. Prepare to meet your God, Israel. For behold, he who forms mountains, who creates the winds, who declares his thoughts to man, who makes dawn out of the darkness, who walks above the heights of the earth. His name is Adonai Elohim Zavat. Amos chapter 5. Seek Adonai and live. Hear this word that I take up as a lament over you, O house of Israel. Sin has fallen, she has fallen. Never rising again, virgin Israel. She is forsaken on her land, and nobody to lift her up. For thus says Adonai Elohim. The city that sends out 1,000 will have 100 left, and one that sends out 100 will have 10 left for the house of Israel. For thus says Adonai to the house of Israel, seek me and live, but do not seek Bethel, do not go to Gilgal, do not cross over to Beersheba, for Gilgal will surely go into exile, and Bethel will come to trouble. Seek Adonai and live, lest he rush like fire through the house of Joseph. Yes, it will devour Bethel, with no one to quench it. You who turn justice into wormwood, threw righteousness to the ground. He who makes the Pleiades and Orion and changes deep darkness to morning, who darkens day into night, who summons the waters of the sea and pours it out on the face of the earth. Adonai is his name. He flashes destruction on the mighty, so destruction will come against the fortress. They despise one who reproves at the gate, so they detest one who speaks with integrity. Therefore, because you trample on the poor, extracting from a burden of grain, you built houses of hewn stone, but will not dwell in them. You planted pleasant vineyards, but will not drink their wine. For I know your crimes are many and your sins countless, afflicting the righteous, taking bribes, and turning the needy aside at the gate. Therefore, the prudent keep silent at such a time. For it is a distressful time. Seek good and not evil, as you may live. And so Adonai Elohim Zavat may be with you, just as you said. Hate evil, love good, and maintain justice at the gate. Maybe Adonai Elohim Zavat will extend grace to Joseph's remnant. Therefore, thus says Adonai Elohim Zavat, my Lord, there will be a wailing in all the plazas and in all the streets. They will say, alas, alas. The farmer will be called to mourning, along with those who know the lamentation song, and all vineyards will be wailing. For I will pass through your midst, Adonai has spoken. Dreadful day of Adonai. Oi to you, longing for the day of Adonai. What would it be for you? The day of Adonai will be darkness and not light. It will be as when a man is fleeing from a lion and meets a bear, or he comes home, leans his hand on the wall, and a snake bites him. Will not the day of Adonai be darkness, not light? Gloom, not brightness? Justice better than sacrifices. I despise your festivals. I take no delight in your sacred assemblies. Even if you offer me burnt offerings and your grain offerings, I will not accept them, nor will I look at peace offerings of your fattened animals. Take away from me the noise of your songs. I will not listen to the melody of your harps, but let justice roll like water and righteousness like an ever-flowing torrent. Did you bring sacrifices and offerings to me in the wilderness for 40 years, O house of Israel? But you lifted up your images, Sticketh your king, and Sheun your star gods, which you made for yourselves. So I will send you into exile beyond Damascus. Adonai has spoken. Elohi Zavat is his name.